Hey y'all, it's Sam, and yes, if you did see my last video, I am wearing the same shirt and I am filming these intros at the same time. Anyway, so for this video, if you remember, I did a review on the Crayola Marker Maker kits. Today, we are going to be reviewing the markers that I made from that kit and how they perform and compare to the regular Crayola markers. So, let's get into it. Alrighty, so as you can tell with this video and many of my recent YouTube videos, this was done on a live stream where I do a lot of art. So if you'd like to check out me doing any sort of streams live where I'm checking out new products or I'm just doing some art, having some fun, feel free to check out my Twitch, linked in the description. Anyway, so for this video, this is the Crayola Marker Maker markers review. If you'd like to check out the Crayola Marker Maker kit review, like the actual mechanism and all that, and the making process of these markers where you get to make your own Crayola markers. I already did that video. I'll put a link in the description / in the card. And this video is a review specifically on the markers that you make from the Crayola Marker Maker. So how they compare to the original, how do they perform by themselves, sort of thing. And going into this, I was quite excited but also apprehensive when we did the initial making of the markers. There's 8 markers total that we made from that video. I didn't make any others since then. The colors looked really great. I was super excited about that. I really love the swatch that we made. Chat helped out pick the colors. I also did that on a live stream. Chat helped picked out the colors for the markers. Started to swatch them out and was just was disappointed like right off the bat. I put them in rainbow order, so of course pink has to go first, and that's when we started to see problems just right away, just instantly. So I did swatch the rest of the colors. I wanted to see how they performed with water, and needless to say, I was #disappointed. We did some experimenting, which I'll show on the screen as well, just the whole page scan, just y'all can see what it looks like a little bit in more detail. But the pink performed very poorly, the orange performed probably the best, then the green performed pretty well, the blues, and then the purple was pretty bad, and then the 2, yes they are different, grays were And by I mean like they didn't really dissolve in water. You could see like the paper just like took the ink and then you couldn't do anything with it, sort of thing. And then I also did some swatches with the original Crayola markers from the classic set, just to compare, just so you see the expectations, the top tier that we could have met. But yeah, so I was wondering if it has something to do with one of the specific colors, because some of the colors performed worse than others, so I was kind of right off the bat being like, maybe one of the ink colors that come in the set are just not good. So I tested out the inks individually, and the inks that come in the Crayola Marker Maker are magenta, cyan, and yellow. Right away, it was super obvious that it was the magenta that was causing the issues. I don't know if this is the same with every Crayola Marker Maker kit. However, the case that it was with my kit kind of suggests that if this isn't the case, then that means it's sometimes the case, which means that quality control is not there, which means that it could potentially be a hit or miss thing, or just this is how it is for the majority of the kits, and this is just the quality of ink that you can expect. I don't know anything about the Crayola company. I don't know anything about the pigments or the ingredients, I guess, that they put into their ink. I don't have any contacts there. I know that I'm like the Crayola girl now, but I'm not affiliated with them at all. I'm not sponsored, nothing. So I have no idea what's going on with why some of their markers perform differently or why some of their inks perform differently. If you've seen my review on the Crayola Multicultural, the skin tone set that they have, there's similar problems that went on with that one. Clearly this is something that's happening. Like I've tested out a lot of their other colors, and it's like sometimes it's just different. Sometimes they're different, and I don't really know why that is. I don't know why the classic set, for some reason, is by far the best set. It's perfect, for kids supplies, but they work perfectly. But for some reason, the other kits they're slightly different. It's hard to describe. Like the bold, the bright sort of things, the tropical set, those ones. That's what I'm talking about. They're just slightly different, and I don't know what it is that caused them to be that way. Anyway, so for this set in specific, yeah, it was the magenta that was causing the issues. The cyan, it was much better than the magenta. Like it still melted a lot with water, but it was still like you could tell that the blue was still a little bit, and the yellow was fine. Nothing was wrong with the yellow. Yellow was perfect. Good job, yellow. You did your job. And then I also did a couple of mixes down at the bottom of the page just to see how that would go. Tried adding water, tried not adding water. And then I also did a test. I'm using Canson XL mixed media paper, which I absolutely do not recommend ever for any wet media. For dry media, it's whatever. But for wet media, absolutely do not recommend this paper at all. And if you would like to know more about this paper and other papers that I would recommend for wet media and would also not recommend for wet media, I have a video comparison of a bunch of Strathmore and Canson sketchbooks and paper. You can check that out, linked in the description and in the card for more thoughts on paper. But for this particular paper that I'm using, I wanted to see what layering would do, how much I could kind of build up. Crayola in and of itself, at least with this paper, is not super great with like layer kind of thing. I think that's more to do with this paper than Crayola. But when I tested it out with these markers that I made from the kit, I did find that they seem to tear up the paper sooner than the original markers did. That's what that little bit in the middle of the page is, of those little rectangles. That was me testing out what would happen if I just kind of scribbled back and forth sort of thing. And they definitely tore up the paper sooner. The original orange that I tested it with just kind of smooshed on top of the paper before it started to get a little bit, but it was mostly just a smoosh. That's the best way I can describe it, honestly. On to the drawing. This was definitely a test. First of all, I do not draw horses. So forgive the mistakes there. You can obviously tell I mostly focused on the face and just kind of gave up on the neck, but don't worry about it. Don't look at it. But while working on this, I could feel it. I really, really could. It was quite similar to, again, the multicultural. If you haven't seen that video, I'll also link that in the description and in the card, because it's a very similar experience, but then that's like an officially released like set that you'd think would have maybe a little bit more tailoredness to it. I don't know. You'd think that maybe this would too, but I don't know. Anyway, but I could really feel it when I was using these markers. Getting a smooth lay down was very difficult. Getting things to blend the way I wanted them to blend was very difficult. It had been a little bit, like a hot minute since I've done any Crayola work, so I was also probably a little bit out of it when I was doing this horse, but I did start to get kind of back into the groove the more I worked on the horse, and it still was frustrating. Like it's hard to describe really, but it's an extremely different feeling, and it's not a good one. It's not a positive. But like how it dried and how like the water kind of pooled around, everything felt different. It felt wrong. It took more effort to do something that should be simple, and I was constantly worried about how the things were going to dry, if I was going to get hard edges, like, with watercolor, where it usually pools around the edge and get like that dark edge. That's what I'm talking about. I was worried about that. I was so concerned about lift. This paper is already not great when it comes to lift, and by that I mean lift control. I mean, you can check out my video for more info on this paper, but so I was worried about layering, trying to get darker and trying to get it smoother. So on that side of the face, next to the eye kind of thing, that whole big area on the cheek, that spot was very hard. I eventually was just like, I'm too scared to go darker because I feel like it's just gonna look bad if I keep going. So I just stopped there. It was kind of a mess. It involved a lot of patience. And because I wanted to try and use every color from this kit, which I'm pretty sure I did. I don't know. It's been a while since I did this. This was like a couple weeks ago that I'm doing the voiceover now, but I'm pretty sure I used every color. So for the background, oh my God, it was so much water. Trying my best to get that super smooth and not have like any of those non-melty edges. And I used plastic to just color pick off of, so I didn't have to worry so much about like drawing straight with the marker and screwing that up. And then I also tried doing stamping, which I don't think worked out here. I think I think I managed to fix the end result. I think I made it work. But during the process of stamping, once I put it down, I realized this was a mistake and I should have done it. But I think I made it work out in the end. It just looks like texture and it works. It's fine. It's good. We did it. We did it, Reddit. Yeah, this was definitely a very difficult, frustrating piece. And the entire time I was working on it, I was like, I never want to see this artwork ever again. It was that bad. And now I'm okay. Like, you know, you take a break, you walk away from it for a little while, and you look at it and you're like, oh, the memories, the nostalgia. But yeah, it's fine. But that whole process was so frustrating. It's really hard for me to, like, this makes it hard for me to recommend the kit, because like at the end of the Crayola Marker Maker review video, I was like, it's still a fun kit. Like, in general, I would recommend the kit because it was stupid fun. It was so much fun. Completely worth the money in that of itself, I think. But for the markers, which is also partially why you're paying money for this kit, I don't know what to tell you. If you're, you know, down to try and use crappy art tools, go for it. If you just want to use them for something else, like if you want to do calligraphy, I know there's actually a lot. That's like a big community that I've seen using Crayola markers and just water-based markers, actually, because Tombow pretty big too, for calligraphy. Go for it. I think they're fine as like writing, but if you want to draw with them and do stuff like I do, you're going to have a much harder time, and it's going to be much more frustrating. So in that case, it's hard for me to recommend it. You're going to have to kind of make that decision on your own there. But yeah, if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on just using crappy art supplies, or, you know, junky, crappy stuff, art supplies that just don't perform well, I also did a companion video on my Patreon where I talk about that as well. So feel free to check that out. Patreon.com/sambeawesome. And if you'd like to see more Crayola / water-based markers / a whole bunch of other different kind of tutorial demonstration stuff, I have a giant tutorial / resources document. I will link that in the description. I have so many tutorials and stuff like that linked in there. Definitely check that out if you kind of want to see all of my content, all my helpful content that's a little bit more organized. Feel free to check that out, link in the description. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for my review here. It's effectively just like, I did not enjoy using these, which is a real shame because I really love the colors. You really get gorgeous colors, but then using them is a different story. So, but if you used Crayola markers from the Crayola Marker Maker kit, feel free to let me know what your experience was like in the comments down below. Are you going to get this kit? Are you going to try it out? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, so feel free to check me out, patreon.com/sambeawesome, or on Twitter too, because I'm also much more active on Twitter than I am on YouTube. And then obviously Twitch for life. All the links are in the description. Y'all know what to do, all right? Check out the description. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.